Apartment buildings abandoned. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article written by Sarah Sharples for news.com.au. Melbourne developer Central Equity abandons a $500 million Gold Coast apartment towers. $500 million, guys. Whoa. Another casualty has hit the building industry with a developer dumping plans for 486 homes on the Gold Coast, blaming the construction crisis. Can't blame them, honestly. Not at all. Now is probably not the time to be going to the market with nearly 500 homes. Not at all. A Melbourne developer has abandoned plans to build $500 million apartment tower. Okay, so they're not homes, but still a $500 million apartment on the Gold Coast, blaming the crisis in the construction industry and surging construction costs for making the project unprofitable. The development was set to kick off this year, featuring 486 apartments in a 56-story tower, which was known as Pacific One, and was due to be built on a beachfront block in Surfers Paradise. Apartments have been sold from a starting price of $650,000 each. The developer, called Central Equity, refused to reveal how many apartments have been sold off the plan for the project, but said buyers had been notified that the build had been cancelled and their deposits had been refunded. Okay. Best outcome for these buyers in this situation. So, Central Equity has been operating for 35 years and has completed 85 developments, but this will be the first time a project has not been completed by the developer. Well, have they completely abandoned the project, or are they putting it on hold? We'll have to see if they hold the land or not, if they're land bankered. And I mean, this is a good sign. I know it's terrible for all the people that were hoping this would be their new dream home. You know, on surface there, I'm a bit old for surface nowadays, but still, people like it. It said that industry sources had claimed that unit prices would need to rise by 20% to cover increased labour and building costs, and it was better not to proceed in a climate of economic turbulence. As a result of ongoing discussions with builders and quantity surveyors, not quantity of surveyors, quantity surveyors, and quantity surveyors is a specialist professional who does costing for projects, construction projects. That's a job that I think Rachel would have been awesome at, but didn't really know existed until you got into the profession. Anyway, regarding the global supply chain turmoil and Queensland construction industry crisis, Central Equity has decided not to proceed with the development of their Pacific One apartment tower at the Gold Coast, they said in a statement. The malaise facing builders, including staff shortages, supply chain disruptions, has resulted in the unprecedented escalation of construction costs, developers making Pacific One economically unviable. The decision was not a demand-side issue, and all deposits will be returned to buyers and prospective buyers. Are they going to hold the land, or are they going to sell it? Pacific One was to be Central Equity's first apartment project outside of Victoria, after it had completed 80 high-rise towers in and around Melbourne CBD in the past 3 decades. So they're very experienced, very established. And, well, in some ways this is a good sign. I mean, it's a bad sign that the market is in troubling times, the cost of escalated, so a project like this isn't feasible. But it's good that they are smart enough to pull the plug now. Right now. Now's the time you want it to happen. Now's the time you want to say, okay, this project isn't going ahead at the moment. Not 6 months down. We don't want to see all... Imagine the bad press if it was half finished. I mean, there are projects here in Brisbane that were abandoned. And what about the fallout all from ProBuild now going under with half-finished jobs everywhere? Anyway, here we go. However, the developer will keep the Surfers Paradise site and may redevelop it at a later date. Okay, so this project's on hold. It'll come back. I bet you. A couple of years' time, they'll land bank it. It'll come back. It definitely will come back. Because, on the Gold Coast is great. It's not a real city. It's a tourist strip, but still, it's great. Central Equity has almost completed 590 apartment projects in Melbourne and also has 4 major housing estates under construction. Experts have warned that more high-rise projects could fall over in the planning stage because of rising costs, particularly as the developments take a long time to build and only certain builders can take them on. Sharp interest rate rises have also placed further pressure on the already fraught construction industry. The industry has been plagued by rising crude oil and electricity prices and supply shortages in key goods, most notably timber, said IBIS World Senior Industry Analyst Matthew Reeves. Numerous flood events in New South Wales and Queensland have exacerbated these issues over the past 6 months. The floods have disrupted the import and transportation of goods around Australia and have damaged and delayed building projects. The construction industry, which has been plunged into crisis with a spate of collapses this year as building giants and smaller operators alike are impacted. We've been following this on the channel, looking at all the articles and finding builders that are going under. This is the construction apocalypse, and it's a range of issues. And one point that Sarah doesn't seem to mention in any of the articles is the impact of home builder in overheating the market. I don't think she's picked up on that now. Early this year, 2 major Australian construction companies, Condev, ProBuild, and this is going through all the... Let's see if there are any more here that we haven't heard about. Statement Builders, ABG, Dalem, 2 further casualties... Heard about that. Snowden, yep. This is just going through all the same ones. Again, repeating what's going on here in the construction sector, guys. Let's have a look here. Commercial Credit Reporting Bureau, Credit Watch, has found the construction industry's key credit matrix, such as late payment times and insolvencies, are set to worsen over the next 12 months as the impact of high-profile company collapses leaves a lasting impression. Now that you've got to understand, when a builder goes bust, okay, they've gone under, but then you also have all of the other people that were providing services to those builders. When you do work for a builder, you can get paid. You usually get paid on their terms, on their time frames, isn't it? What, end of month plus 30 days, or end of month plus 45 days, or 60 days? I think a mate was one builder was trying to push him 90 days. So you're expected to give free credit for that long, and sometimes you're in a negotiating position where you've got to take it. They're the deals that you have to take. You need to keep the money coming in the business to keep it flowing. So that's why there's kind of a delay with everything that's happening here, because these big builders have gone under, and there'll be subbies that have provided services to them and now trying to claw back whatever money they can get. And then that will flow through to the entire economy. But it seems to be mainly in the residential side of things, the multi-res that's copping it, and the housing, spec housing sector and housing. This is one reason why you want to have... It's difficult. You want to have a diversity of clients in multiple sectors. You want to get a bit of government work coming in, a bit of education work coming in. You want to mix it up. All key metric indicators, from insolvencies to payment behaviors, are pointing to some tough times ahead, said CEO of data company Open Analytics. The industry-specific challenges of late payment times is of particular concern for small and medium enterprises, subcontractors and suppliers, which are looking to deal with builders that pay promptly. An increasingly difficult task, with approximately 12% of construction companies averaging more than 60 days in arrears. So 60 days late. You give them a payment invoice for 30 days, and they'll pay you 60 days after the 30 days are up. You still have to pay GST and tax and all of that when you issue the invoice. Oh, it's fun running a business. This blowout in repayment times is far greater than any other sector, representing the almost normalization of late payments and razor-thin margins in the industry. A healthy construction industry is vital for a strong economy and ongoing growth, with the sector accounting for the employment of almost 9% of Australian workers and 7.5% of Australia's GDP. Well, let's have a talk about this one, guys. So the good takeaway here is the developer pulled the plug on the project, rather than just pushing ahead with it. They made the smart decision. Now they're just going to land bank and then wait for the time to strike again. It could have been much worse. But it's also a sign that these type of projects just aren't feasible at the moment. So what's going to happen? Because it takes a few years for a project like this to kick on. What's going to happen if we have supply decreasing in our housing stock, but then demand suddenly increases as there's an influx of more people coming to the country due to potential policies coming from our federal and state governments. What do you think could happen there to housing and rental costs? Ain't going to be good. Anyway, guys, that's something to keep an eye on and keep in the back of our mind. As always, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content and things I discuss here, there's a few ways you can help out. You can financially support us via YouTube or Patreon, use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, call us if you need an architect, and take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays. Maybe they just rent the land out as car parks and surface. They'll still make bloody good money there. Less work than being an apartment developer, eh?